Greetings from RC Mojo. Today we're going to put together a Dreamflight Weasel Evo, a 2-channel foamy slope glider. The kit contains the airframe and comes with a hardware pack with clevises, control horns and other miscellaneous bits that are needed to put it together. To complete, we're using hi-tec HS65 MG servos, a cheap switch harness, a 4-cell AAA any loop pack, a Spectrum AR8000 receiver, which should be interesting to fit. The build begins with fitting the magnets to the wing and fuselage. The foam used in the kit is supposed to be okay to use cyno, but it's still a good idea to test. So I'll cut some of the moulding flash off and test it. I'll be back once it's dry. Right, well, that worked. The bit of foam hasn't melted, so we're good to go. Time to play with magnets. First task being to try and separate them. There's certainly no worry about them holding the wings on. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's vital the magnets go the right way round, so double check each one before you glue them in. Bit of cyno in the hole, then press the magnets in behind, being careful not to make a mess with the cyno that gets squeezed out. Once that's done, leave it for at least an hour to be sure the cyno has fully cured, as you don't want to test fit and find you just made a one-piece wing. In fact, while we wait for the magnets to dry, we might as well cover the elevons. I'm using white packing tape. I would use solar film, but this is a foamy and I'm lazy. First step is to cover the rounded corner, otherwise we'll end up with creases. I've cut a thin strip, just need to stick it to the edge, then cut tabs and stick them down. This will also give the rest of the tape something to stick to, adding to the durability. Now we just need to cover the rest with fairly generous overlaps. And as I'm sure watching one of these being covered was exciting enough, I've done the other one off camera. Now to hinge the elevons. The kit comes with some strange stretchy tape, seems like it might be latex, not sure. Looks like it should be perfect for hinging though. First we'll tape just under half of the tape to the top of the elevon, then attach it to the trailing edge, leaving a small gap. Half to 1mm is all you need. This is just to make sure the elevon can hinge down okay. Next, turn the elevon over and tack it to the wing. The second bit of tape goes in the gap. Much like the taping, I'm sure seeing one side done is plenty, so onto the horns. All you need to do is poke some holes in the tape where the holes in the wood are, push the horn through the holes, fit the spreader and do up the nuts. Once the push rods go in, I'll be putting a drop of cyno on these too. Now the interesting part, fitting the Spectrum radio. Since it doesn't really fit at all, I'm going to have to do some foam digging. So I'll have a go at that, be right back. Okay, it's in. I had to cut quite a bit of foam for the radio to fit and still allow for the switch. The satellite now has a recess further back. The cut out bits of foam will act as a cover, like so. I've also put a bit of light pipe in so the LED is visible. Next up, servos. First job is to remove the horns and centre them. Simplest way is to plug them into the radio and power up with the trims at neutral. Then fit a single-ended horn to the correct angle. Because these HS65s are a bit smaller than the servos the kit was designed for, we'll need to trim the foam a little to get the horns to line up. To keep the servos in, we're just using a couple of dobs of hot glue. And with both servos in, it's time to fit the electronics, which given the tight space is a little fiddly, but it does all go in. Might need to tidy up the rat's nest though. You may have noticed my left thumb has become a little redder than usual. That's because I've been painting. I was going to use tape to put a couple of stripes on the wing, then I changed my mind and was going to paint on some stripes. But I got a bit carried away and painted all the top surfaces and tail fin. Should make it easier to tell which way up it is though. With the wings painted, it's time to fit the push rods. One end gets clevises cynoed on. While they're drying, it's a good time to set up the transmitter. We're using a Spectrum DX8. First we select an unused model memory slot, give it a name, then set up the wing type to elevon. Job done. Now to fit the other clevises and clip them onto the horns and adjust. Once set up, I took the push rods off and flipped them over so the brass screw won't get caught up on landing. We're almost ready to fly now, just a few more steps. First we put on one of the stickers on the top cap, then apply the velcro and push them together. Next, the belly skid needs to be trimmed. Unfortunately this didn't quite fit. I had to trim a little foam from the recess for the finger hole. Before the skid is fully fitted, you need a few bits of tape to secure the electronics. Also, the wing will need to be balanced. I ended up needing quite a bit of lead in the nose, most likely due to the Spectrum satellite receiver. We've painted the skid red, painting on the inside so the paint won't get scratched off. The skid is held on with yet more tape. To make the underside look a bit tidier, we then cut some paper and white tape to cover up the servos. Lastly, purely because the front looks like a face, we cut some vinyl to make eyes. Right, so that's about it. The wing is ready to fly, however the weather outside is wet, with winds up around 20 miles an hour, gusting to 50, which is a little much for a lightweight glider. Hopefully we'll have some calmer dry days soon, so watch this space. For more RC goodies, visit rcmojo.com.